Lisa Su. A note on this, AMD's stock up phenomenally. You can see since she took over, 589%. Lisa, I think when you took over, this was a $2 billion market cap. I think today it's above $386 billion. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Who's counting?
Well, it's great to be here with you guys this morning. Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you, too. Last week, you had earnings that came out that beat all expectations, and yet the stock actually declined. I think people were waiting to see what you said at the Investor Day. They liked what they heard, especially when it came to the revenue, the annualized growth that you're expecting, 35%. I think most people were looking for closer to 30%. Predictions are hard, though, especially about the future. And I guess the big question is, what makes you so confident?
Well, first of all, it was a great day yesterday. It's always nice to sometimes take a step back from just, what's happening on a quarterly basis to really talk about long-term strategy. And it has been, as you said, it's been 3 years since we've hosted an Analyst Day. But what we thought is, there's been so much that's changed in the market just over the last, 12, 18, 24 months that we kind of needed to just take a step back and talk about the company as a whole. And frankly, we're in just an amazing cycle for technology and specifically around AI. So back to the major points. The market is accelerating at a pace that we just did not understand until over the last few years. I think we started a couple of years ago. We thought the AI accelerator TAM might be $300 billion, and that sounded like a really big number. And then each year we took it up. And now when we take a step back, we see this massive opportunity, really over $1 trillion, overall market as we get through 2030. And it's a place where everybody needs technology. Think about it as you can think about computing as equating to intelligence. And if you can get more intelligence, why wouldn't you want more computing? And that's kind of the market that we're in. And so, from that standpoint, we're really excited about what we have. It's a product portfolio, it's a set of partnerships, but it's also a vision for where computing is going in the future.
What makes you so sure of that demand? What do you see that makes you think not only that this demand is going to be big, but that it's real and that it's not going to disappear?
Well, Becky, we spend a lot of time in the ecosystem, and being in this industry for as long as I've been in this industry, over 30 years, I think you see a lot of cycles and you see a lot of technologies take off. The key is what people are saying as they're actually utilizing the technology. So we work with all of the largest hyperscalers in the world, all of the largest enterprises. And if you looked at sort of the AI trajectory over the last couple of years, I think people started with tremendous excitement. ChatGPT came on board. Everyone was like, wow, this is pretty good. And then enterprises started using it. And frankly, the early enterprise usage was a little bit slow. People were kind of just trying to figure out what to do. But if I tell you what we've seen in the last 12 months, we've seen every one of our largest customers say, we can see the inflection point now, Lisa. We can see demand is accelerating because people are now starting to get real productivity out of the AI use cases. And we have all of the largest hyperscalers in the world saying they're investing more in CapEx because they can see the return on the other side of it. So it is something that we always are looking for the signals in the market, but the signals in the market right now say that we're still at the very beginning of the technology, but you're starting to see significant productivity improvements.
Do you really think that they can see the returns on the other side? Or do you think there's a little bit of a big gamble going on, which is to say that there's a bunch of them will tell you quite openly, look, I'd much prefer to be ahead than behind, meaning ahead than behind. I'm worried that if I don't invest enough now, I won't have enough capacity later, but I can't necessarily fully math out how it's going to work out on the other end either.
I don't think it's a big gamble. I think it's the right gamble. And the way I would say it, Aaron, is we can also definitely see that more computing and more investments equate to a faster pace of innovation. I think that's definitely there. I think you can also see all of the pointers to more productivity and more capability. Now, exactly timing of ROI, right. If you're talking about is it 12 months or 24 months, I think that's where it becomes a little fuzzier. But I would say that look, our largest customers are extremely disciplined companies, and they have the balance sheets to invest. And this idea.
I'll give you an example. The one that everybody talks about is OpenAI.
Yeah.
So OpenAI in 2028 is expecting to lose $74 billion. By the way, they have $13 billion in revenue right now. I believe that's the number. They believe that between 2028 and 2030, that they will all of a sudden become a profitable business. So they have to make a swing from a $74 billion loss. Something magical has to happen in the course of 24 months. So the question I would ask you, as somebody who, by the way, has to think of them to some degree as a customer / creditor of sorts, how you think about that math.
Yeah. So again, Aaron, I would take a step back and say, when you look at the entirety of what the AI, sort of technology companies are, you have the largest hyperscalers. You have, I call it the AI native leaders like OpenAI, Anthropic, others, and what the underlying foundation is the same. They all need computing. Now, relative to your comment about OpenAI, I think OpenAI is a phenomenal company. I mean,
I do too. I use it every second. I love the business. I love what they're trying to do. I'm trying to understand the math.
Let's start with the vision, and then we'll come to the math. When you look at the math, the vision will say you need more computing. That today, computing is a limiting factor in how much people can adopt AI. And you can see that in a number of different places. And so, yes, you have to invest ahead of the curve so that you can get the entire user base on there. But if you just take a look at the growth in users, and not just at OpenAI, but across the entire AI ecosystem, we're seeing that growth. And we're seeing that growth because there is true productivity coming at the other end of it. And from that standpoint, I think we are all, like I said, we're disciplined business people, but we see an incredible opportunity in front of us. And absolutely, if one has the capability to address that with a fantastic balance sheet, you would absolutely do that.
Let's talk about your plans for AI data centers. You are scaling pretty rapidly. You see the growth there in terms of revenue being greater than 80% over the next several years, and potentially getting to have more than a 10% market share in that business over the next few years. To do that, you're going to have to go through NVIDIA, because by some estimates, they have more than 90% of the market share right now. What's your plan for doing that?
Well, I would say, once again, this is an amazing market with tremendous growth. And whenever you have a market that is, let's call it, early in the cycle and also on a steep growth curve, it really favors innovation and it favors partnership. From our standpoint, technology roadmap, we're super excited about the new products that we're bringing out. We have our MI350 series currently in production. We have a big step up with new rack scale architectures coming next year. What we also have is a really strong set of partnerships. Aaron mentioned OpenAI. We have partnerships with Oracle, Meta, all of the large hyperscalers. And the key in this type of market, Becky, is that everybody wants to have sort of multiple solutions, and frankly, there's no one solution that fits all. You can see with different workloads, you're going to want to have the best technology for each one, and we do believe we will have a significant piece of this market. I think between large hyperscalers, enterprises, as well as sovereign nation states that are out there building large data center installations. I think we are an excellent option, and we've talked about some of the key partnerships to do that.
Yeah. Mind-boggling what I've seen with AMD. And we spoke just briefly about Jerry, one of the co-founders, Jerry Sanders, who I knew for a while. He started this in 1969, I think. He was at Fairchild. Every employee got stock options when he started. And you told me I haven't kept up. He's still alive. Maybe he might be watching. He's 89 years old, I think. The reason I bring this up, Lisa, is I watched AMD challenge Intel for years and years, and I have to rethink everything because I thought of it as an also-ran back then, and it always seemed to be copying or cloning a lot of things that Intel did. The chart doesn't even work and this is only, what is that? That's only 10 years for Intel versus AMD. Something happened somewhere. Can you tell me where Intel missed something or AMD
Or
capitalized or capitalized? I mean, obviously, but was it, I don't know, did things change in the business? What caused Intel to lose its preeminence?
Well, first of all, Joe, as I said, we love Jerry. I hope Jerry's watching. He absolutely founded a fantastic company, and I'm honored to be a CEO. Look, I've been CEO for 11 years, a little bit over 11 years. And as I said, what you find in technology is when you're at inflection points in technology, you have to make the right strategic bets. You have to decide, hey, I know where it's going to go, and I'm going to invest in those places. And that's what we've done. I think we had a vision that high performance computing was going to be the most important thing, and that's what we were going to invest in. And with that, we systematically gained confidence. Becky, back to your earlier question, when I started, I think we had 1% of the CPU market, and today we're probably about 40%, and I think we have a path to be over 50% or number one in the market. And that came from just a true belief of where the technology is going and how do we partner with the largest companies out there.
I am not anybody to question your ability to do it, but it is really hard, I'm told, to come up with this rack scale infrastructure. And obviously you care about putting your customers first, you care about building trust with them, you're not going to do anything that would put that at risk. But even NVIDIA stumbled when they brought out the Blackwell chips, which is their third iteration of that architecture. So what are you doing? How can you be so confident? So what are you doing to make sure that this pulls off without a hitch?
Well, Becky, I can say that our track record is we've built an execution machine, and we are very confident in our ability to bring out new products. One of the things that, when you look at the past 5 years, we've invested over $100 billion, both organically and inorganically in the company. So organically, really built up our engineering capability, hardware, software systems. Inorganically, we've done $60 billion of acquisitions with the idea of let's bring in the talent required to ensure that we can really pay off these big bets. The key in technology is you have to make the right decisions, and I think we've made many right decisions. We recently acquired a company called ZT Systems that specializes in data center rack scale solutions, and they have been absolutely key to our roadmap going forward, in addition to a number of other hardware and software acquisitions over the last few years.
Lisa, big question in the industry is how to think about the depreciating value of these chips. So you're talking about sort of this fascinating, fabulous new technology and changing, increasing and making that technology better every single year. As so many people are building these data centers, the fundamental question is, how long do these chips actually work, or when I say work, are meaningful if you have to upgrade them, given how quickly things are moving, every call it 2 or 3 years or 4 years or whatnot, and what happens to them afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we've actually seen is, I think this was something that people were wondering. Is it like the next chip is so much better that I have to rip out our current gear and put in new gear? What we're finding is that's just not the case. We're finding that as AI workloads expand, right? Think about it this way. You have the most advanced foundational models that need the latest and greatest and will take the newest chip as soon as it comes out. And then you have, a whole bunch of other AI companies that are out there that are just servicing, let's call it regular demand, medium-sized models, maybe even small models. Like large enterprises may do quite a bit of fine-tuning on their models, so they don't need the latest and greatest. What they want is something that is very reliable, very steady, has shown through the entire capability. And so they'll use, let's call it, the current technology. And what we're finding is there is a large set of use cases. Like we only always talk about the bleeding edge. And what I'd like people to think about is AI is for everyone. Like everyone should get a piece of AI. And that means in the cloud, that means you may use the current generation technology. And by the way, Aaron, I'd love you to be using AI in your PCs, because I think that will also be one of the key things.
I totally get it. The big question is, are we building railroad tracks that are going to be here for a very long time? Are we going to have to replace the tracks every 5 years, 10 years? I mean, look, this phone, which is the iPhone 17, I actually just found an old iPhone 2. You can't use the iPhone 2.
That's right.
You can't use really the iPhone 10. You probably, maybe the iPhone 12. So this is the fundamental question in terms of all of the money that's going into this space and how those chips, I agree with you, they'll get used in some way, somehow, but how, again, this goes to the sort of the math of all of this.
I think the math of people who are thinking, hey, is 4 years too long? I think are now beginning to see you can definitely use these assets, 5, 6 years, and some would say even beyond for, let's call it more of the workhorse applications. And that's what kind of makes the growth rates what it is, because for the absolute bleeding edge new technology, you're going to build big new data centers, and they're going to be different form factors, but the rest of the assets will continue to be used.
And you need a 5-year depreciation schedule in order for that to really pay off?
That's about.
Back to Andrew's earlier question, just going back to some of the deals that we've seen. From the outside, it looks like this crazy whirlwind where anybody and everybody in the industry, both when it comes to technology and energy, are meeting all the time. We just had Mike Wirth here talking about how he's talking to somebody, we don't know who, about building out an AI data center in Texas. Is it like that from the inside? Is it this crazy whirlwind of you got to meet with everybody all the time?
It is a whirlwind. I will say it is a whirlwind. And as we look across the ecosystem, I think one thing has changed. We've gone beyond, as a silicon company, we used to talk to our customers and our customers' customers. Like we would talk to the hyperscalers, we would talk to end users like the enterprises, the Mikes of the world. I think what's becoming clearer is now we need the entire value chain. That includes the people who are building the data centers, the people who are providing the power, and the people who are also providing the financing. Andrew, to your point about all of these things are important for us to put together. It is a broad ecosystem, and the way I think about it is that's actually the way it should be, because we need all of the pieces to accelerate for us to really put on all of this compute in the as fast as possible.
Are we? Is the Trump administration using industrial policy in terms of Intel, in terms of the Biden administration, in terms of the CHIPS Act? Are those good things? Is there a way to do it that makes sense, or you just do what you're doing? And
well, I think it's a fact of life that semiconductors are now essential to every country. They're essential to the United States. I think the Trump administration has actually been very, very helpful in terms of engaging industry. A bunch of my peers, myself, we spend a lot of time there just ensuring that there's a very clear understanding of how semiconductors, the U.S. wants to lead in semiconductors, and we absolutely want to be able to enable that. I think we lead today. We want to extend that. But it is a case where, yes, I think it's such a critical asset that it's a fact of life that we need to make sure that we're very, very much.
Do we want to design them, or do we want to make them?
We want to do both.
We
absolutely.
I mean, we lead in design. Even if it's cheaper somewhere else.
Yes, we lead in design today, but we must have manufacturing in the United States. And even if it's a little bit more expensive, that's totally fine. Because if you think about the value that we're adding to the economy, you absolutely want to have.
How about the CHIPS Act? Was that done? Is that the way to do it, or how was it administered? Say something bad. No.
Say something bad.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, what I will say is that it's really important for the U.S. to continue to serve the entire world. So I think we all believe in this notion of we want the world using U.S. semiconductors and U.S. technology, the U.S. AI stack, and so that's a key imperative.
So do you think it's a mistake then for this administration and the prior administration to try to put limits on chips that are being exported?
I don't think it's a mistake. I think export controls also make a lot of sense given national security. I think how you implement is, the devil is in the details, and that's where we want to be very involved in sort of the regulations and how they come out. But given how important semiconductors are, right, I think export controls are again a fact of life.
I just had a separate question, which I didn't get to earlier. Masa-san yesterday dumped his entire stake in NVIDIA, effectively $6 billion worth, $5.8 billion worth, to use that money to commit to OpenAI. And I'm so curious what your reaction to that is or was.
I don't know, Andrew, that I have a particular reaction to it. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Masa-san. I think he makes his decisions. You know, I view this as the AI ecosystem is in a place where people are making bets and people are deciding what bets they want to make and whether, you know, which part of the stack you want to make the bets. You know, from our standpoint, we're certainly at the foundational silicon level, but we invest in a number of AI companies as well because we want access to that ecosystem.
But I just wonder whether he's saying to himself that the chip piece of this has run its course and that he thinks clearly the next stage of value is in a large language model like OpenAI. That seems to, from the outside, that seems to be what he's saying without saying it aloud.
Well, I would say, being someone on the chip side, I think the chip trade or the chip industry is doing very, very well.
He got out in 2019, and that was a mistake for him
time to get out,
too. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Lisa, let me ask you about Intel and NVIDIA, because I know you don't like particularly being compared to either one of them, but now the two of them have a partnership themselves. And from a competitive standpoint, what does that mean to you? How do you change at all, if there's anything you would change in terms of how you face either one of those companies?
Well, I think, Becky, our industry is such that we compete and then we also partner. Like, we actually have a partnership with Intel as well on the x86 ecosystem. You know, our chips run interoperably with Intel chips, in some cases with NVIDIA chips. It's a complex ecosystem. You know, my main goal is to ensure that we have the right partnerships. And partnership is actually very core to our principles. You know, I'm a big believer in there's no one company that has all of the right solutions. You actually need to bring the best of the best together. So I like to say when we create partnerships, it's how do we do 1 + 1 is greater than 3. And we find we have lots of partnerships in the ecosystem to ensure that we operate well to really deliver everything that you need for the complexity of AI. Like, AI is the most exciting, but it's also the most complex thing that we're bringing out there. And so you should expect that there are going to be partnerships with people who compete in some areas, but who also partner in other areas.
I think you have something in common with Condoleezza Rice. She started out wanting to be a concert pianist, and I think that was your first choice.
I wasn't good enough. She's a much better pianist than I am.
She said she wasn't good enough either, so Secretary of State was her second choice. I think we are lucky to have this be your second choice. We're lucky that you weren't better at it, Lisa.
I had one more just theoretical question. So I used to work, like I don't have enough to worry about, but I used to worry about Moore's Law and physical constraints and that the party's going to end. It almost became moot, didn't it? Because everything's sort of attached. Do we need Moore's Law to continue? Would it help if we could go on forever, and is it ending?
We all love Moore's Law. Moore's Law is, in its traditional sense, slowing down, but we've added many more laws on top of that. And the idea is when you have smart people and you focus them on a problem, they can do amazing things.
Getting around physics is hard, but they got around it in an elegant way.
Yes, you get to the next level of physics, right? That's what happens. You say, hey, I'm constrained. I mean, people used to say, like, there's no reason to keep investing in semiconductors. Semiconductors are going to be a mature industry. It's going to kind of just grow at a slow pace. And then what did you find? You found, AI came in, and all of a sudden, the foundation is semiconductors. Like, everybody needs semiconductors. And so the world does find a way when there is a need, whether it's computing or it's power or it's other things, engineers find a way to make sure they get through.
Malthus never made any, I don't think he ever won a bet, did he? I don't think he did. And when they tried to close the patent office in 1880 because nothing new was going to come around, I guess we've learned that wasn't a very good idea either. I can't believe it's going to continue without. So you can't really explain it, I guess, to me. Probably would take a while. How do you get around Moore's Law?
Well, I'll give you one quick idea, if it gives you any comfort. So
I might not understand it, but
we used to do everything in 2 dimensionals, and when we said, hey, we ran out of space, we decided we're going to put things on top of each other, and we call that chiplets. That's an example of one of the innovations where people were like, hey, that can't be done. Well, guess what? It can be done.
It's not an ice cream
snack. By the way, her decision to go with
a chiplet
is part of the reason that they took on Intel.
Oh, that's right. Chiplets.
That's a chipwitch. Yeah.
People used to say, "Hey, you're gluing chips together," and it's like, no, we are showing you how you're supposed to build chips in the future, so that you can really get around some of these constraints. So there are lots of examples like this.
Lisa, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. Lisa Su of AMD, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It's great being here.